Yeah. Okay. So on last class, we discussed how you are going to create the class. So what is meaning of access modifier and what is meaning of class? And now, so class name means here you can give. So class name you can give, which is related to your object data. So you can give based on the object data. So you can define the class name. So here the class name is always starts with a capital letter. So there is some naming conventions is there. So the first one is, so class name always starts with a, with a capital letter. A capital letter. Okay. Okay. Let me see some examples. For example, if we want to represent an employee object details. So if we want to represent the employee object details in a class, how you can represent. So as per the syntax, what is the syntax to creation of a class? Access modifier class name. So here based on the access modifier class, so class name is the employee, and here you have to, so this is the Java comment. So this is single line comment. If you want to comment a lines in Java, you have to go with single line comment or multi-line comment or Java documentation comment. So if you can go with this one, first you have to define the variables. And similarly, you have to define the, so variables here is nothing but a state. And here you have to define the behavior of the class, behavior of the object, sorry, behavior of the object. Similarly, here also state of the object. So how you can represent the state? So if you want to represent an object state in Java, so if we want to represent object state in Java, you can use the variables. You can use variables in Java. Similarly, if you want to represent object behavior in Java, you can use methods in Java. So first of all, how you can represent state? So how you can represent a state of the object? So state of the object. So if you want to represent the state of the object, you have to go with variables. So what is the syntax to creation of the variables in Java? So syntax to create variables in Java. So what is the syntax you have to use? Here, access modifier, type of the variable, name of the variable equal to value. So this is nothing but defining and initializing the variable in a single line if you have to go with this syntax. So this is nothing but initialization and defining and initializing. So defining and initializing variables in single line, you have to use this syntax. Suppose if you don't want to if you don't want to use if you don't want to define initializing and defining the variables in a single line, you can go with this one. So in this one, first you can define the variables. So the syntax is access modifier, type of the variable, name of the variable. So first defining, then initialize the value. So if you want to initialize the value, you need a name of the variable. So name of the variable equal to value. Okay, so here what are the name you are providing here? That name and this name both must and should be same. So line number 70, what are the name you are providing? That name and this name must be same. So this is defining initializing the variable in a single line. If you want to defining the variables separately and you want to initializing the values of the respective variables separately, you have to go with this syntax. Okay. And here one more. So here I am telling access modifier. So access modifier here also you can use. There is a lot of access modifiers in Java. Access modifiers. So here also you can use public, private, protected. So public access modifier, private access modifier, protected access modifier, and default. And default access modifier. Apart from that, you can use final access modifier, static access modifier, and we have transient access modifier. Transient. Okay, public, static, final, and transient, and etc. So if you want to define the variable, it depends on the what are the access modifiers you can use. So if you want to define the variable, either the variable must be contain a single access modifier or it is a combination of the access modifier. So you can define whatever in which way you want to define the variable. So you can use the access modifiers combination based on that. You have to defining the variable. You can defining the variables. Okay. So type of the variable. So if you want to define the type, this is very, very important. So in this case, Java have data types. So what are the data types we have in Java? So byte, short, integer, long. So this is the 4 data types which you want to represent the numerical values. Next flow, double. So this is the another 2 access modifiers which you want to represent the decimal values. String. If you want to represent a group of characters, you have to go with string or character. If you want to represent a single character, like suppose if you want to represent the marital status, married, unmarried, you something like that, you have to use for character. And next one is Boolean. Either you have to represent with true or false. So here string you can represent in between double quotations, and characters you can represent with single quote. A character always enclosed with single quote, and Boolean is always like it's a true or false. And remaining all, if you want to represent a numerical data type and if you want to represent a decimal data type, you have to use with float. And this is also you want to represent the numerical values. Okay, next. Here, equal to. So equal to is the operator. That is nothing but to initializing the value. So double equal to is the operator which is used for the initialized the values. Initialized the values or assigning the values. Values or assign the values. Assign the values. So you can use anything. Next. So values means you can give. So the value here, value. So the value is depends on the type of the variable. So value is always depends on the type of the variables. Yes. Okay. So now let's create some examples. Let's create a variables based on the syntax so that you can easily to understand. So what is that rule? What is the syntax? Access modifier, type of the variable, and value. So let's go with I want to represent some numerical values. So access modifier, type of the variable name, employee salary equal to some 90, 90, 90 something. SAL. Salary. I want to represent public string ATM card number equal to, so double quotes. So you can give whatever you want. Next, if I want to represent a character, so character CH is equal to male. I want to represent a Boolean data types. So public Boolean flag is equal to true. Okay, so like that you have to defining the variables. So this is the first syntax what we are going to discuss. And the second syntax is first you have to defining the variables. Public string employee ID. Then after that employee ID equal to, you have to give A101. So this is his employee ID. So either you have to go with like this. This is next here. Another one. If you want to combine the same data type of the elements, suppose if I want to, let's take a student marks. So if I want to represent a student mark, so how many marks? Int M1, int M2, int M3, int M4, and int M5. So I want to represent this one student 5 marks. So how I can represent in a single line? Same data type of the variables. So the syntax is access modifier, type of the variable, and mark M1 equal to something 90, M2 equal to, sorry, with comma separate 90, and M3 equal to some 89, M4 equal to 78, and M5 equal to 78. So like that you have to defining the initializing the same data type of the elements. Instead of you are defining the variables in line by line, with single line you have to represent, you have to go with a comma separation. When if you want to represent a same data type of the element, same data type of the value, same data type of the variables, okay. Let's okay, so now we can create one example class and we can define the variables. So for example, I want to create one student class. So access modifier, class keyword, student, open bracket and close bracket, and here so defining the variables. So public integer, public string, student ID equal to some A101, A101 with the double quotes, and public int M1 equal to 90, M2 equal to 89, and M3 equal to 67, and M4 equal to 78, and M5 equal to some 78, like that. Okay, next we want to represent the public string st name is equal to Sirisha. Next, you want to represent his address, her address. Sorry. String city name Chennai. Public string pin code. So you can represent with integer 600098. Next, public long phone number. Phone number equal to this. Okay, like that. So like that you have to define a class, and if you want to represent the videos. Okay, so I can rewind what we discussed over. So the first thing is how you can create the class. So what is the syntax on this? So access modifier, class name. So what are the access modifiers you can possible to apply? So public, private, protected, and default, and you can use abstract, static, and final as well. So class is a predefined keyword or reserved word in Java. By using the class keyword, you can define the state and behavior of the object. So class name is if you want to define a class name, in what type of the object data you are representing in that class. So based on the object, you have to provide your class name. So how you can create a class? So public class employee. So every class can contain state of the object and behavior of the object. So if you want to represent the state of the object, you can go with in Java, you can using the variables, you can represent the state of the object. If you want to represent the behavior of the object in Java, you have to go with the methods. So what is the state? So state is nothing but you have to representing the, you want to defining the variables in Java. So what is the syntax to creating the variables in Java? Access modifier, type of the variable, and name of the variable equal to value. Or you have to go with defining and initializing with different locations. So you have to go with the second one. So if you want to defining the variables also, you can use some access modifiers. Like what are the access modifiers you can use to defining the variables? You have to use the private, protected, default, public, and default, and final, static, and transient, and some other access modifiers also. So if you want to representing the variables or state of the object, first the type of the variable is very, very important. So for that, Java having a data types. So byte, short, integer, long, float, double string, character, boolean. So these are the 9 data types in Java. So here in these 9 data types, except string, remaining all the primitive data types. String is not a primitive, it's a wrapper data type. So if you are using the equal to, that means you are assigning or initializing the value of the variable. So value is nothing but it depends on the type of the variable, what type you are representing. So based on the type of the variable, you can defining the value. So this is the examples how you are going to defining the variables in Java. Okay, so finally I'm creating one student class. So how I can representing the state of the student object. So this is nothing but state of the student object. State of the student object. Thanks for watching this video. For more updates, please subscribe my channel.